Welcome back to Reliving Retro. This is Season 3, Episode 8. It's a Patreon pick, actually.
Ooh-wee.
Oh, yeah, Patreon. And if you want to support us on Patreon, it's only $5 a month to get your games pushed to the top of our list. And, you can buy Yaiser a Yingling, essentially.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, it's a great time. You get priority at Patreon, is what I'm saying. We have a very special guest on with us today, so I'll allow him to introduce himself. I shouldn't say allow. I feel like that's like weird.
No,
you can go ahead and introduce yourself, buddy.
Thank you for allowing me to do so.
Exactly.
You have permission.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm the king over here. I don't know what I'm saying.
It's because of that Jay-Z song.
Is that what it is?
I feel
Allow
blessed.
me to reintroduce myself. My name is...
That might be it. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. So my name's Ryan. I am of the List Off podcast, although we will be sailing off into the universe, the great beyond soon. We have a few episodes left, but that is where you could find me. We will probably continue to be hosted if you'd like to check out my podcast. But yeah, my name is Ryan Yingling of all things. So the beverage of choice is spot on, Yaiser.
Wow,
nice, dude.
Who knew? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right, yeah. So go check out the List Off podcast. Even though it is ending soon, it's still an amazing podcast. They've been doing it for 2.5 years, so there's plenty of content. If you haven't checked them out yet, they have plenty of stuff there. They do top. I don't know if it's necessarily top 10, but they do top lists of all things video games. So if that's your thing, check them out. They're the best at it.
Thanks, man.
Of course. So getting into just kind of getting to know you, right? You've been a guest before, but for those that haven't seen you on here yet, a couple getting to know you questions.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So first thing, what was your introduction to gaming? What kind of got you started in the gaming world?
Yeah. So I did. I believe I mentioned last time too. It was an Apple IIe.
Yep.
I had a few titles for that. So I started at a very young age, playing games like Frogger on that, and this other one, Threshold. Atari 2600 was a big part of my early video game experience. But man, nothing beat. Holidays are coming. Nothing beat unwrapping that NES for Christmas, and it had the pack-in with Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt, and I also was blessed enough to receive Top Gun, which at the time I thought was the coolest thing ever. In hindsight, maybe not so much, but I was very happy to have it as a kid.
Well, what's funny is I've throughout doing the show, I've recently, I very often put questions up on like Facebook or Twitter or whatever, basically saying like, have you played this game? What do you think of it? That kind of thing, to just sort of get some reviews to read on the show. And a lot of times I get reviews that say like, at the time I love this game, right? Because like money's tight. You don't have the money or even the time to like go out there and buy all the games that like we can afford now, because they're much cheaper than retail. At least most of them now are much cheaper than like the retail $60 per game. So when you're limited in that sense as a kid and you play, a game like Top Gun, you think the world of it at the time, right? You're like, oh, this game is so sick. But then you go back with some hindsight after you've played, a couple hundred games or so, and you're like, this game kind of sucks.
I mean, even when I was in the midst of like convincing myself it was a good game, I could not get the plane to land. I couldn't get the ship to land.
Which is all you have to do in the game. So it's kind of
right. It's a huge part of the game. But I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, look how good this looks. Like, and at that age, graphics mattered. That generation, that sort of thing really, really mattered. But yeah, I was shocked to hear that like, as you get older, you hear some of your favorite childhood games, like people don't enjoy them. And, I'm like, what? Like, hold on. This is like the best game ever, because you only live with that memory of it. Right.
Right. Yeah, exactly. My mom has actually gone through a little bit of that, because she's purchased obviously a ton of the games that I played. She was a gamer before I was. So, she enjoyed all these games too. And then like we played a game, Bart versus the Space Mutants.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, I loved that game. And I'm like, oh, it's not great. It's not
No.
a great game.
No.
And she's like, oh, really? You guys didn't like my game? And I'm like, it's not like we didn't like it. It's just not that good. And she,
yeah. What was it like? What were you fighting? Like purple, right? Or like there was a color?
Yeah, you had to fight the color purple.
Yeah, it's like
basically.
man, yeah, a little odd. Yeah.
And then the second level, I believe you collect hats.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah. A little all over the place.
Yeah. But anyway, so what are some of your favorite games to play now? And you can say like genre or like what consoles are you enjoying the most currently?
Wow. I love story driven action games, so like third person story driven games. I don't play a lot of multiplayer games. So The Last of Us Part 2 is maybe my favorite game of all time, but almost definitely in my top 3. And I know like out come the wolves on that one, dude. People are gonna tear me apart because Daddy Joel, but yeah, I really enjoy those games. So like Ragnarok is a recent one I played through. Kind of have mixed feelings about that. I won't spoil anything, but like, it was fine.
Yeah.
I did enjoy Elden Ring this year, and I just got Callisto Protocol and had an opportunity to dive into it today. And it's receiving like terrible reviews. Which is going to disappoint a lot of people. I have no doubt about it. It's going to disappoint a lot of people, but I'm also having a good time with it because I think once I read a few reviews, I kind of understood what it was. And I'm surprised by how much I'm enjoying it, I guess, after like it got critically panned.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's funny because in some Facebook groups, I've seen that some people are actually enjoying it. So it's weird that like the critics are kind of killing it, huh?
Well, it's, a lot of people say, oh, like it's a short game. I haven't finished it, but apparently it's pretty short. So that's what people are saying is a downside. And it is extremely linear. But like, I'm a father. I enjoy short games because I can play them and get through the story. And it's like that. Pretty much the same reasons I enjoyed the Resident Evil 3 remake.
Okay.
It's straightforward. It's like, here's the story. It's basically a dark sci-fi action movie. Enjoy it. And like, I'm good with that, man.
Right. Being linear is not a bad thing when you're a father and you have very limited time.
Right.
I also don't think the length of a game really matters that much. It's what you do with it, as they say.
Absolutely.
So, how good is the actual game? It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't need to be like this super epic 60-hour plus type of game for me to enjoy it or for me to appreciate how AAA title it is.
Right. Like I put in fun. Yeah, I put in like 80, 90 hours to Elden Ring this year, and like, oh my God, I will not go back to it because like I enjoyed it when I was playing it, but that is a lot of game. Like,
it's
too much game.
Yeah, it's a lot. All right. What wasn't too much game though, in my opinion, was the game we played this week, which was Cool Spot. I mean, we'll get into it. If you want to just start it off, I'm assuming none of us here beat it. Yaiser?
No, I didn't.
Ryan?
No.
This game on howlongtobeat.com says it takes about 2.5 hours, 3 hours if you want to 100% everything, which I just assume 100% just means collect all the red dots on the level.
Fuck that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not even necessary. So basically in this game, what's the story, Yaiser? You gotta
what's his name?
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Wicked Wily Will, I think is his name.
That's a Spot's name?
No, that's the bad guy's name.
That's the guy who captured all the Spots. And
right.
then
and all the Spots' names are Spot though.
Yeah, you have to go catch Spot, and Spot.
Yeah. They're all named Spot.
Yeah, you gotta get them back.
For those of you that don't know, this game is 100% just an advertisement for 7-Up. That's all it is.
That's it.
It's pretty amazing. There are Uncola. Yeah, you're supposed to spell Uncola to get the true ending on the Super Nintendo.
Oh wow.
Which I think is kind of crazy. But there are a few advertisement-based games. So there's this. There's like Yo Noid. Any other ones that you can think of off the top of your head, Ryan?
I mean, there's the Burger King ones, Sneak
Oh yeah, true.
King
The
and all
Burger
that.
King ones.
Yeah, those were pretty notorious.
Those seemed like less advertising, and only in the sense that like they were literally like, "Hey, you buy this from Burger King," rather than go out to the shelf, like go out and buy this off of a store shelf.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it was like $5, right? Like you could buy it at Burger King or
And
something.
there were
like
3
that.
different games, I think, right?
Yeah, there was like Bumper. What was it? It was Sneak King. There was like Bumpin' or something like that. It was like a bumper car one. I don't know.
Yeah.
They were ridiculous. But
Yes.
Yo Noid was one that came out for the NES that was just a Domino's thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy that those exist. But this one, as far as it goes, I don't think is that bad. But I mean, we'll get into the story here. Yaiser, what'd you give the story?
I gave it a 2.5. Surprisingly, and a little.
Wow.
I thought it was funny. Reading the story gave me a couple chuckles, so I went right down the middle there, because there's really not much there. I mean,
there isn't.
The wicked, wily, wicked butthole stole all your friends, and you got to go save them. That's the whole story. But the book, it made me chuckle. So
yeah, that's actually right where I landed too. I landed at 2.5. As far as like story goes, there isn't a whole lot. You just have to save your Spot friends. They're all named Spot, which actually did make me laugh when I read that in the manual. Other than that, there's not a whole lot to it, right? Ryan, do you disagree?
Maybe my issue is more with like capitalism and marketing in general.
Okay, well, I mean, I think we can all agree there.
Because I gave it a 1.5, just because the story is like the whole story is literally a marketing campaign.
Yep.
Which is pretty bad in 2022, considering that 7-Up isn't even like a relevant soda in today's world.
I wasn't sure that it even existed, to be honest.
Right.
I wasn't sure if it was still out there.
See?
Wait, is it?
I don't know.
So
don't know.
If I were to ask both of you what your top
it is.
10 sodas were, would 7-Up be one of them?
I don't think it'd make the top 20.
I mean,
and I don't even know if I know that many sodas.
It's probably, yeah, probably not. I would say Sprite, as in like a coverall for all like lemon lime sodas.
Right.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 7-Up is still a thing.
It is.
Yeah. Which is kind of crazy.
I feel like I've seen it at the store.
I feel like at one point in my life, 7-Up got replaced with Sierra Mist somehow.
Right.
Because it used to be like, it used to be up there. And then Sierra Mist came along, and it's like, oh, you got Sprite? No, we have Sierra Mist instead of no, we got 7-Up though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. We have some breaking news here. As of May 15th, 2020, the parent company Dr. Pepper announced that it would slowly discontinue the production of 7-Up due to slow sales beginning December 1st. So I don't know if it's actually
Cool Spot.
Yeah, right.
Damn.
Cool Spot too. We need the game. That's too funny. Yeah, I don't know. We got to get you back on to do a top 10 sodas list. I think that's
no, please don't. I don't even know if I know 10 sodas.
I don't really drink soda a whole lot. I actually just drink water for the most part.
Yeah, beer soda?
No,
okay,
it's not. But nice try, buddy. All right. So as far as story goes, none of us gave it really resounding reviews on the story there. Ryan, you want to take it out? Do you want to take over for gameplay?
Yeah, sure. So I was a little more pleasantly surprised with the gameplay, I will say. I gave it a 3.5. I think it controlled surprisingly well in the opening level, right? There are balloons above you. You could just jump to the balloons. And I've never played this game before. This week, I should say that. So I start jumping on these balloons and there's bubbles up there. And I'm like, man, this is actually some good platforming. This controls extremely well. And I immediately, halfway through the level, I drop to the bottom and I immediately am surrounded by hordes of things that I now realize I have to shoot. There's a shoot button that I didn't know about. And this is where the gameplay kind of suffered for me. I would have probably given it a solid 4 or above, but if only you could stand still to shoot, because you are required to shoot at angles at a lot of the enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to move if you're shooting at those angles. Like you can't just be stationary and aim diagonally. You have to be pressing that, which moves the character. And that gets you into situations where you're going to get hit. It just didn't feel that intuitive. So that did bring it down a little bit, but the platforming and like the mid-air movement, which is very important in platformers, it all felt really kind of precise.
Mm-hmm.
So 3.5.
And I'll take over. I actually agree with most of what you said there. I did have gameplay at a 3. I was pretty close to putting it at a 3.5. What brought it down for me was just how simplistic I guess the game really is. There's not a whole lot to it other than run, jump, and shoot, right? Which I mean, I guess a lot of the games of that time are kind of like that. And there aren't any like boss fights or anything like that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
true.
So it's literally just level, unlock the cage for your buddy, and then you could do like a bonus level if you collected enough spots or whatever. And those are all like percentage based, right? Because there's 100 spots in the level, and I believe if you get like 80% or something like that, you unlock the bonus level, and you get like 50 or 60 or whatever it is, then you can unlock your buddy out of the cage. But I gave it 3 for gameplay. I did dock it for what you said. Having to move while you're shooting is super frustrating, and I think that at this point, like I'm okay with those kind of flaws for like NES games because it's literally the D-pad and 2 buttons, and so there's so much you can do with it.
Yeah.
But when you have a Super Nintendo controller, I mean, maybe I would let it go a little bit for the Genesis version, because there's only 3 buttons and the D-pad.
Right.
But for the Super Nintendo, you got to be able to do something else. You got 4 face buttons and the 2 shoulder buttons. Game developers did not utilize the shoulder buttons nearly as much as they could have back then. I had a very similar problem when we played Evo with the sprint was double right or
that was
double direction
right
or whatever, when they easily could have just had it been like you hold down right and hold down the R shoulder button.
Yeah.
And they could have done something very similar here.
To like stand still and shoot.
Yeah, just hold down. Yeah, if you just hold down the R shoulder, you should be able to stand still and then shoot and then move it around to aim. So I gave it a 3 because of that, essentially. Yaiser?
Yeah. Okay. So I was up there. I probably would have gave it, if I didn't have these gripes, I would probably have gave it 3.5 too, because like you said, the controls, like especially in the air, felt really good, especially on that first level, going from balloon to balloon. And it was cool how you had to land. If you didn't land directly in the middle where the string was, you didn't grab it. I thought that was really cool. But
yeah, the hitboxes were good.
Yeah. And
for sure.
But yeah, the whole having to move to shoot at angles thing was awful. And on level 3, there was these mouse traps they had to jump over.
Yeah.
And you could only do it if you had speed. And there is no sprint button as far as I know. You just have to walk enough to be able to start walking faster. That was so annoying to me. Like, I died to those fucking mouse traps the first time I went to that level. I died and had to start over on that level because I didn't realize I had to be like sprinting to run over that. And why not just give me a sprint button? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You bring up a good point, because I actually like convinced myself there was a button, because I like the first 2 times I hit, I was playing on a emulated. Wow, here come the feds, dude. Emulated. PS1. So like I think I was pressing triangle, and I'm like, oh, like he's running every time I push this. That must be the run button. But it wasn't. It just like happened to happen. It happened to occur every time I pushed it.
It's like when you're a kid and you're trying to like, you push the button harder and it does more damage or something like in your head.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't think did I land on a score?
No, I
gave it 2.5.
Okay.
So I docked it a little bit more than you guys did.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I will say though, I do definitely agree with both of you guys that in-air movement and the jumping and stuff like that, all very accurate. So as far as like gameplay for a platformer at the time, I would say this is an above average platformer for the system.
Yeah, for sure.
Starting, I guess I'll start with visuals. I landed at a 4 for visuals. I thought everything looked really good in this game, actually. I mean, it's not going to blow you away like Donkey Kong Country or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's not like it's not that impressive, but all the colors, like they all kind of pop. And I was actually watching our buddies Console Wars, their difference because I knew that this game came out for Super Nintendo and Genesis, so I kind of wanted to see the differences between Super Nintendo and Genesis. So I watched that, and man, the Super Nintendo version, as far as like visuals, I felt like it's just so impressive. When it comes to like enemies, like they're all different colors and stuff like that. Genesis doesn't have that, and all the balloons and stuff like that, they're all different colors, and they're even like see-through. Anyway, I was just a little more impressed, I guess, with the visuals than I expected to be. So yeah, I landed on 4 for visuals. Yaiser?
I was at a 3.
Okay.
I think like the world designs are all pretty cool
Yeah.
and unique. And I like how you're like, you're a tiny little dot and everything else is
Right.
but like those hermit crabs are fucking huge, and like the
Right.
rats and spiders, and like
Yeah.
when you're in the wall or whatever they call it. So I thought, yeah, well, that was all pretty cool. But like other than that, I mean, the colors were all right. I didn't notice anything special about it. And you're just a dot, though,
Yeah, but
And all your friends
you're
are
a cool
just-
dot though.
I guess.
Yeah.
You're a cool spot. Yeah, I don't know. I think I docked it a little bit for that. Which
But
I
did
mean,
you-
I get it. It's the 7-Up dot. I understand that, but
Yeah.
still, it's kind of lame.
Yeah, I
Did
get
you,
it.
did you see the sunglasses though?
Yeah,
I
did you
saw the
see those?
sunglasses.
Okay.
Oh, you know what I really liked actually visually is like when you started losing health, is like your little
His
guy
face
up in
is,
the
like,
corner.
melting?
He just like starts melting.
Took me
was pretty
forever
cool.
to pick up on that.
Same.
I was
same.
like, how do I even know I'm close to dead? Like, where is this energy bar? And then,
It's
Yeah,
kind of like
yeah.
the Doom thing, like the guy's face just
Oh,
starts
yeah,
to
Right.
bloody and shit.
except in Doom you have like the health percentage also to kind of go by.
True.
Yeah.
I will say one more thing that I was impressed with that I forgot to say is the bonus levels where you're literally in a bottle of 7-Up. I thought that looked really good.
Oh, I didn't even notice that's where you were.
Yeah, you're in like the bottle or whatever, and you're
So are those
floating
little
around.
bubbles that you bounce off of supposed to be like carbonation bubbles?
Probably.
Yeah, it's
I
what
would
you
assume.
shoot too, I think, is supposed to be.
Yeah, you shoot
carbonation.
bubbles.
Yeah.
Ryan, what about you for visuals?
Yeah, I actually am spot on with a 3 as well. I did like many of the things you mentioned, Rigney, but I think I fall more in like Yaiser's range here because I emulated the SNES version, which, as you mentioned, had better colors. The animations were great. There was a lot of good there, but the camera, man, was zoomed in so close that like I couldn't see enemies far away enough. That second stage, you're climbing the rope and there are worms crawling on it, and like the speed that the cool spot climbs is almost too fast, because by the time you're climbing up and like boom, there's a worm, it got you already. Like you didn't have any time to react or make any movements to get away. And then like you, I checked out the other version, which had fewer colors, and in this situation I'll almost always choose the SNES title over the Genesis one. It's just personal preference for me, but the camera was zoomed out a little bit more on the Genesis version, so maybe I did go with the wrong one. But I thought the animations were good. It was good, but it's really that camera that killed it for me.
I actually did notice that, and actually not that this is a Console Wars commercial or anything like that, but from watching them, I did notice that is the case for a lot of Super Nintendo versus Genesis games, where the Genesis, just like the field of view, it just seems to be bigger for those for a lot of the games for some reason. I don't know why the Super Nintendo kind of cuts off the edges of the game and it's like kind of cropped like that. It's really weird.
I've never really noticed it, and I probably wouldn't have if I didn't like
see
actively
them side by side. Or
yeah,
something.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, but as far as visuals go, I think it's pretty average, a little above average, I think, for the console. So I think we're all, kind of in agreement there. Yaiser, you want to start off with sound?
Yeah, sure. So we listened to almost the whole OSC, kind of.
I mean, we listened to like a minute and a half of each of the songs. Yeah, I don't think they get a whole lot different, 4 minutes in.
So some of them were actually pretty fucking dope.
Yeah, some bops in there.
Yeah, a lot of them were,
whatever,
plain, whatever, So I'm at a 3.5. I went 3.5 on sound.
I actually, I went 3.5 as well. But I will say, again, if we're bringing up the difference between the Super Nintendo and the Genesis, there are some tracks on the Genesis that sounded better. And I'm a Super Nintendo guy, and the whole reason why I'm a Super Nintendo guy is the controller. It's the same reason why I'm Xbox over PlayStation. I like the controller better for the Xbox than I do for the PlayStation. And it's the same thing for Super Nintendo. I'm much more like the Super Nintendo controller. But yeah, there are a couple tracks where the title screen, Wipeout, right? They play Wipeout. That sounds so much better on the Genesis than it does on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, the bonus level too.
Yeah, and the bonus level. But to be fair, like both soundtracks are good. I also landed on a 3.5 here. I think the one thing that knocks it down for me is the in-game sound effects. Nothing crazy. They sound a little stock. I also kind of hate what Cool Spot sounds like. Like he's supposed to sound all cool and stuff like that, and then he gets hit and he's just like, no, and we're like,
yeah, it's the truth, dude.
Like, why is that a noise that you just made? Like, you're supposed to be really cool, and then you get hit and you just sounded like a dying seagull, and I don't understand that.
Well,
yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I landed on 3.5 for that. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, no, I'm actually right in line with both of you. I had a 3.5 because the soundtrack is good. I'm shocked to hear that the Genesis did anything better when it comes to soundtrack. Like Genesis has a pretty terrible sound card, but yeah, the music was good, like surprisingly good. Man, those sound effects are grating. I actually didn't know there was a difficulty level select. So the first time I jumped in, it was on normal. I did drop down to easy because once I managed to like not catch the balloons, I dropped to the bottom, and it was that just one after the other, to the point where my wife is like, "What is that?" She's like, "What even is that noise?" And it's grating. It's not a cool noise. So dropped it down a little bit for me to 3.5. I would recommend easy though. I know it doesn't have to do with sound, but just it helps a lot.
Yeah, you'll die less. Is what I'm saying?
Too.
Is what I'm assuming.
Yeah,
and also the difficulty level. Well, so on the Sega Genesis, this is another thing I'll say that the Genesis was better in. On the Genesis version, you don't have to beat it on hard to get the quote unquote like real ending. However, the Super Nintendo version, you do. You have to beat it on hard to get the real ending. Beating it on easy or normal won't get it done. You'll just get another screen that says nice job, but you should try it on a harder difficulty, which is basically the same thing that happens at the end of Turtles in Time. If you don't beat it on hard, you don't get to like the true ending or whatever, which is kind of annoying that games do that, but whatever.
That is annoying.
I'd do it for the Ninja Turtles. I'm not doing that shit for a cool spot, dude. No, I'm not a chance, man.
Really, all it is it's a cheap way to get more replayability out of your game.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all it is, because you could beat the game on easy. Why would you go back and try and play it on medium or hard or normal or hard or whatever? If you're going to get the same ending. So all it is it's trying to incentivize people to play it again on a harder difficulty. Maybe feel like they got a little bit more of their money's worth because they played it for 4 hours instead of 2. But yeah, so I was gonna say something else and I don't remember what it was now. Nope, that's it. I did it all. Yeah, that is it.
Shit.
So I hate it when that happens. Sometimes you just lose your train of thought and just words are gone.
My granny used to say, if you forgot what you're about to say, then it must have been a lie.
I don't agree with that. I think maybe listen, no disrespect to your granny. I'm just saying that, like, maybe she was wrong about that.
Yeah, I have a terrible memory where like I could be mid-sentence and where was I going with this? So yeah, not a lot.
It happens. It happens for sure.
I believe her.
Now I have heard people say that if you forget what you're gonna say, then it must not have been that important. That much I feel like.
That's probably true.
Kind of
too.
Agree with,
It's probably
true.
Okay. So you're saying 2. Okay, I get you. All right, let's end that because that was insane. Let's go to let's move over to Aged. Yaiser, you want to start Aged? See what you think of this. Did you spill your beer?
No.
Okay.
I gave it 2.5. Right down the middle.
Explain.
I didn't hate it that much.
Explain yourself, Yaiser.
But I also didn't like it.
That's fair.
It like we were saying in gameplay, it controlled pretty well. I'm not a platforming type of guy.
No, you don't like them.
No, I don't. And I feel like the platforming didn't really get hard until the 4th level, though, the water level.
Mm-hmm.
I just kept falling in the fucking water and I died. So that's when I stopped playing. I died on level 3 because I couldn't jump over the fucking mouse traps.
Yep.
And then I started over. And then I couldn't I just kept falling in the goddamn water on the 4th level.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, like we said, it controlled pretty well, but like it was also kind of a stupid fucking game. So at the same time, so I'll go right down the middle.
Yeah. All right, Ryan. What about you?
Yeah, I gave it a little bit higher, but I'm kind of there with you. I gave it a 3. I think it's a good. You even said like it's an above average platformer for this generation, but it is a completely subpar shoot 'em up, and it does try to have those like shmup elements, and it just fails at it, in my opinion. Like, it's frustrating. The enemy patterns are frustrating. Like, none of that feels good. There are games that like do punishing well in this generation, which is funny because like I absolutely love Ghosts and Goblins, right? Super Ghouls and Ghosts or whatever it's called.
Yeah, they changed it was really weird. It was Ghosts and Goblins for the NES, and they changed it for the Super Nintendo. It's like Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Like, I love it.
I don't know why they did that.
Okay.
One of my favorite SNES games, like one of my favorite of this generation. Which is funny because it's terrible platforming. You can't like change your trajectory in midair or any of that.
Yeah,
but,
and
like,
it's unforgivingly hard.
But it's fair. And everything like feels good. And I feel like it's a good mix of like kind of shmup, like kind of platformer. But it does that shoot 'em up really well. And this just sucks at it. So I gave it a 3 because I felt like it's difficult to do both of those things decently, and this didn't necessarily like. It was better. It was good as a platform. It should have stuck to that. I probably would give this game a 4 if it didn't have any of those shmup elements. But it has them, and it has them often. So I don't know why they made that choice, man. I really don't. Like, I felt frustrated playing it because I'm like, why'd you make me shoot stupid bubbles? Like, you could have been a good like Mario clone,
Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm right in line with you guys. I have it at a 2.5. My biggest thing for aged is just you can see its age in it with its programming when it comes to, like I said, like I brought up before with the controllers. They easily could have used the shoulder buttons more effectively, made it so that you could stand still and shoot the bubbles. That would have made, Ryan, your issue way better.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I landed at a 2.5 because of that. That being said, I still think it's an above average platformer for the console. There are plenty of platformers that I see suggested in like hidden gems lists and stuff like that, and I would prefer to play this one over a bunch of those. However, this game is certainly not without its flaws. It has a bunch of them. I do think the things that hold it up the best are probably it's simple gameplay where it's still fun, and the best time you have is really just the platforming where you're jumping from the balloons and stuff like that. Like that's all a lot of fun to do, and then the sound is so much fun to listen to.
I agree.
Yeah, so as far as like total scores go, Yaiser, you were the lowest on it at 2.8. Ryan, you came in at a 2.9, and I was at a 3.1.
So same ballpark.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. We're all right there together on it. So I don't think this game is a bad game. I don't hate this game by any means. It's super nostalgic for me because I played it all the time when I was a kid. I also think that one of the things that kind of kills it age-wise is it's about a company that for the most part doesn't exist anymore. So, you know what I mean? Like, it can't really age well if the company isn't really around.
Yeah.
So
the thing is, if you're emulating, you have so many options. Like, say, you have every game on the system. Are you going to choose Cool Spot? Like, no, don't choose Cool Spot. That'd be my advice.
Probably not. If you're huge in the platformers, then, and you've beaten all the better platformers than Cool Spot, then sure,
maybe
give it a shot.
You'll probably have a good time with it.
Yeah, But if I sat down and tried to make a list, I bet I could probably name 20 platformers on the system that are probably better. But to be fair, there's probably like 200 platformers on the system
that are worse.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, this generation is almost exclusively platformers for the most part. You know, like this and like the generation before it, most of these games are going to be platformers. So, as far as platformers go, I still think it's an above average platformer. And if you're into platformers, I'd say give it a go. It's kind of funny. You know what I mean? It has like a little bit of the humor because it's 7-Up and because all the guys are named Spot and the bad guy's name is Willy Wonka's Wittenheimer, whatever it is.
Wild, wicked, wily Will.
Wood whittling Willy Wonka.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I did it right.
Yeah, whatever it is, man. Like, you know, like that kind of stuff is silly. It's funny, whatever. I think it's a decent like beginner's like platformer too. I mean, it can be difficult at times, but I think it's just one of those where like kids would get more enjoyment out of it, I think, than like a full-grown adult person.
Yeah.
So, is that fair to say?
I think so. Yeah.
I didn't bring it up in visuals, but it had some cool parallax scrolling too, like with the cruise ship in the background, and you know, like it did some neat things. Like it's easy to look at. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
it has a lot going for it.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's far from terrible, but it's also far from great. So it kind of falls right in the middle there.
Kind of where we scored it, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we killed it. You know, I think it's fine. It's a good game.
It's okay. It's not a good. It's okay.
It's okay. It's a good platformer. It's an okay game.
Yeah, there you go.
Do we feel okay with saying that?
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. This is the time of the show where we randomize what we're playing next week. And Ryan, this is the time where I vaguely describe the game to you to see if you can guess it. Yeah, so that's fun.
I failed miserably last time, and I'll probably do the same this time.
To be fair, most people do.
What was it last time?
I don't remember what it was either, but
it's not easy.
It's fine. Also, we'll be looking for a recommendation to add to our master list. So we'll get that from you after we announce the next game. And we just like to have any game before like the HD era. So before like PS3, Xbox 360, Wii.
Cool.
Alrighty. All right. So we're going to hit that button now.
Spin it.
All right, so this week we will be playing a advertising game for the company 7-Up. No, I'm just kidding. No, we will be playing
Cooler Spot.
Yeah, exactly. No, we will be playing a arcade sports game developed by Midway Games, released in 1997 for the Game Boy Color, the Nintendo 64, and the PlayStation.
NFL Blitz.
Nailed it, buddy. Yep. NFL Blitz.
I didn't know there was a Game Boy version.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep.
Play that version.
I'm going to play the Nintendo 64 version because that's the version I grew up playing. I don't know what Yaiser is going to plan on playing.
I think I played it on PlayStation.
PlayStation. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should get some co-op, though, of that. That'll be a good time.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah. But yeah, so we are playing NFL Blitz next week with Tales from the Backlog joining us to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know them, huh?
Yes, I know Dave well. Yeah.
Yeah, Dave is pretty cool. So he's going to be joining us to talk about NFL Blitz next week. Cool. And Ryan, do you have a suggestion for us?
Last time I was on the show, I suggested Weapon Lord, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds so cool.
You are correct.
It does, doesn't it? It looked cool too. It looked cool too. Great cover art. I won't tell you anything about the game itself, but I think I already have. I feel like I already have. Yeah. If you haven't noticed, I'm stalling for time because I haven't thought of any. I'm assuming things like Super Ghouls and Ghosts is probably on your list, right?
It's actually not.
So let's add that. 100% add that.
Cool.
Slap that bad boy on there.
Throw it in.
All right. It has been added to our list.
Heck yeah.
I'm excited to get frustrated over that one. That'll be fun.
Yeah. It's inevitable.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. Do you want to tell the people one last time where they can find you?
Sure. Yeah. Look up List Off on all podcatchers. We're putting out we were putting out weekly episodes for the longest time. So I think we're leaving at more than 100 episodes. Plenty for the backlog, plenty of different lists. There's enough there to take up your time, but yeah, like I said, we are sailing off into the sunset. So if you've ever listened to our show or given us any of your time, man, I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. And thanks again for having me on, guys. It was a good time.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
You're always welcome back if you ever feel like talking games.
Of course.
Alrighty.
Cool.
So next week, everybody, you can join us as we talk about NFL Blitz with Tales from the Backlog. And if you want to see more of Ryan, then head over to List Off Podcast on Spotify or wherever else you can listen to podcasts. They'll be there.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Peace.